What is up, ladies and gentlemen?
What's up, H-Town?
It is your boys from the ShockTheWorld podcast here in 2018. I'm your host, Hydrated Howdy Harold Eason. Here with my two favorite very old gentlemen.
Yeah.
Old.
I'm also hydrating as well for the we're not sponsored by Dasani, so I'll just go like this. I'm hydrating for this weekend. That's why I'm drinking a lot of water.
We are.
There you go.
Hey, my cup's cooler than both of y'all's, and I'm hydrated too.
That's true.
Carb Oktoberfest, bro. Could be a sponsor someday. You never know.
Oh,
But we're here coming to you guys after the new year, after the bowl game. Sad L. And
Yet again,
you know, normally
another Mountain West team, absolute shocker.
right.
Major Applewhite with a Grinch that stole Christmas.
All the things that we were totally upset about. You know, we could go in here and tell you that how many freaking interceptions we had, Stephen Dunbar's yards, taking all the L's. But there's no real point because we don't have any other games to play. What are you saying?
Ed Oliver did score a touchdown.
That is true.
That was
I think
the only
that's
coolest
the
part about
only
the game.
positive, yeah.
That was
I was like,
coolest
oh
thing.
my God, Major's getting creative.
Really?
And then just
No.
Wah, wah, wah.
That dude looked like Jaworski Lane
That's
true.
from Texas A&M.
The
back
J
in the
train.
day.
That's old school. That's an old school.
Yeah.
feel like Bo
there.
Scarborough.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
So normally we'd be whining about how awful the offense is and how Major Applewhite's done such a crappy job at his hires and making blah, blah, blah decisions. But at this point, he's already made a decision. And I think we all know what the elephant in the room is.
A very big decision.
Boy.
Major Applewhite has gone ahead and hired Kendal Briles as the offensive coordinator and associate head coach, with Randy Clements as the O-line and running game coordinator this past week. So unless you've been living under a rock,
For real.
you probably know that Kendal Briles and Randy Clements both came from FAU, and that previous to that, they just both came from Baylor. So
Well, one real quick note: Randy Clements actually
Sure.
went to a NAIA school in like Oklahoma or something like that. Just for those keeping score at home, they both came from
Yeah,
Baylor, and then one went to
Eventually.
FAU, the other one went to Oklahoma.
Correct,
Not
correct.
Oklahoma.
yeah, and it's obvious that, you know, our Twitter has been blowing up the last couple of days.
Just a wee bit. Just a wee bit.
Social media, Cougar social media, the forums, the Facebook groups, the Twitter groups have sort of created this giant rift in between the Cougar fans, and I'm not sure. You know, obviously there's two sides of this. Obviously, there's lots of people, including ourselves, who were extremely disappointed with the things that happened at Baylor.
And if you don't believe them, just go back and listen to some old episodes.
Exactly. I think
Harold mentioned Baylor. I think our first 30 episodes, they got mentioned at least once.
Oh,
There was a-
absolutely.
Definitely. There was a consecutive, like, Baylor rape joke in probably, like, 30 different episodes.
Now you're going to make people mad because we made a joke out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, you're
Okay,
gonna
not
be
jokes.
upset.
We're punching up at Baylor, right? Punch-ups. That's okay,
Yeah.
not punch-downs.
Whatever the hell that
but,
means, sure.
Yeah, but basically, like, we're sitting in two different camps. You have the folks that are saying, we want absolutely nothing to do with the toxic culture, quote-unquote, of Baylor. And then you also have everyone over here who's saying people deserve a second chance. You know, there's no necessarily proof besides a couple of messages that have nothing to do with any sort of rape allegations that link Kendal Briles or Randy Clements to anything. So why don't we go ahead and make the awesome hire when we have the opportunity? They proved themselves at FAU, and that's where a lot of people stand right now. What are y'all's overall thoughts?
Jay, do you want to start, or you want me to start?
I'll follow after you.
Okay.
I'm just trying to gather everything.
I'm going to let you go ahead, and I'll lean up after Jay gets done.
I think we'd be remiss if we didn't first say what happened at Baylor was an absolute atrocity. We would never, ever wish anything like that upon anybody in this entire world. Anything went down between the rape allegations, between feeling helpless, and everything that went down. I think it's completely awful. And when
disgusting.
When it all, anyone that committed the crime should do the time truthfully, and there are already people in jail doing jail time, very serious jail time, and will probably do a lot more when this all comes to light. But with that said, I think you're right. There are two different camps. You either A, don't want anything to do with the last name Briles, or B, you think this can be a redemption story and we can go for the positive. Myself, looking at it from a very high level, not like high intellectual because I'm not a smart guy, but looking at it from like a 5,000 feet view, do I think that Briles knew everything that was going on? No. Do I think maybe he knew somewhat? Possibly. Like I was listening, forgot who someone was talking about, but the assistant coaches are the ones that have a lot of hands-on with all these guys. But 85 to 100 dudes at any given time, that's a lot of people to keep control of. And I know there were some bad apples in there. We've had some bad apples at U of H. It's very hard right now for me to say, because of Kendal Briles, that toxic environment happened, and we're going to have one here at U of H because of him. I just cannot believe that with Chris Pesman, who is a former letter winner, a guy that was part of the run and shoot who bleeds Cougar Red. Renew Couture, who absolutely bleeds Cougar Red, is one of the smartest ladies probably every one of us knows. And then Major Applewhite. Between those three, that they would, for lack of better terms, let a wolf in the hen house and allow something to happen on Colon Boulevard. You got to think about outside of the Bill Yeoman stuff that we did and the cheating that we did during that time, we've ran a fairly clean program. I mean, outside of a few misdemeanors and someone, shoplifting or drugs or whatever it may be. I mean, hell, we told a recruit just a couple years ago, hit the bricks, because all he talked about was quote-unquote thugging and doing stuff like that. And ironically, he got arrested for aggravated assault and with weapons and whatnot at the other institution he enrolled in. So I find it very hard to believe that all of a sudden, with the addition of Kendal Briles and Randy Clement, that things are just going to change. You got to remember that there was multiple coaches that coached during that regime from 2008 to 2015. So I personally would like to see this as a redemption story that, yes, he did something wrong. He probably cannot talk about it because there is ongoing investigations and litigation and whatnot. So he can't even speak on any slight specifics. But if there is more information that comes out and it personally implicates him that he did have a role, I'll be the first one to admit that, no, we made a mistake. I'll be happy to admit that. But as of right now, I would like to see this turned into a positive and let him show that, nothing went bad at FU that we knew of. Let's see if we can do the same thing here at U of H. So I'm personally rooting for him to be the good guy when this is all said and done. But I'll be the first one that if something else comes out that he did have a hand in it, then I'll be the first to pass judgment.
There you go. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with everything you're saying. And I think just knowing who – we talked about this earlier – the people that are high up in our institution, Couture, Tillman, throw Major in there, Pesman, why they wouldn't put the university at risk if they didn't feel comfortable, right? I just find that very, very hard to believe that if they knew something was absolutely wrong, then they wouldn't just go ahead and say, okay, bring them on in. I don't believe that. As far as offense goes, this is a boom tower hire.
Yeah. Oh my God.
This is probably the best thing that could have happened after finishing 6 and 7?
7 and 6.
Or 7 and 6.
7 and 5. Sorry,
I mean, honestly, 7 and 5. Yeah. Okay. If you just say we get, that coordinator and this O-line coach coming in, okay, boom. That immediately makes us contenders for the West next year. When a lot of us, after the bowl game, we're sitting there chit-chatting saying, are we even going to be better next year? And I was like, probably not.
Who knows?
Now we're just like, whoa. And I'm not saying you trade all that to win more games or some people are saying score 10 to 12 more points per game.
Right.
I don't think you look at it like that.
No.
I don't know. And another thing too is just going back and forth between the two discussions. The fan base is going to be split about the decision. I think you have to look at yourself and say, one, I'm not supporting the coaching staff or the decision makers of the university. I'm going to go support my university and support the kids that are out there, blood, sweat, and tears, getting up at 5 a.m. every single day, and the hard
100%.
work to give us somewhat of enjoyment from our crazy lives every Saturday in the hopes of us doing all these trips. That's where you should fall in to the category. If you're not happy about the decision, so be it. If you don't want to support the university anymore because of it, that's your own problem. But I think you have to go out there because we are tied to this university, and it's our football program, and it's our student athletes that are going out there busting their tails every day, and that's what you should support.
Yeah.
And that's it. If this was a Texans hire or Cowboys hire or whatever, I fully understand you just being like, that's it. I'm cutting my season tickets off. I'm not supporting blah, blah, blah. Okay, so be it. But that's kind of where I'm falling with it. Like I said, I trust the leadership of our institution, and all allegations aside, this is a hell of a hire. He's a hell of a football coach. Will Art Briles be involved? Sure, he talks to his dad. I don't know. Let's just not start, burning down the house that we just built the last 4 years because of one hire.
Yeah.
And don't forget too that Renew nixed hiring Billy Clyde Gillespie because of character issues that he had in previous shenanigans that he did. She deemed that as not worthy of Cullen Boulevard. So,
and that may be the reason why Kiffin didn't make it here as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Could have been. Honestly.
So
overall, my thought is, I think I'm kind of with Tim. You got to kind of zoom out. I've heard a lot of arguments about people saying, there's absolutely no way that these guys didn't know anything about blah, blah, blah. A lot of those arguments, I wonder if they're people who have ever worked in the corporate world. When these kind of things happen, having two parents who are both like corporate human labor law issues, who have worked from everything from rape all the way to people's getting heads getting cut off with katanas in the freaking workroom. There's crazy stuff that happens, and people don't ever know about it. Yeah, pretty crazy.
That's pretty interesting.
That's never happened at my company, so I can't empathize.
I don't know about that either.
But my point is, when issues become this hyper-focused, a lot of it is intentionally kept away from middle managers so that there aren't any personality conflicts or judgments until the decision finally comes out. I think we can all agree that the Baylor administration did a horrible job because these allegations did get fed up to the administration. We have no proof that it has gone to either Kendal Briles or Randy Clemens. So at this point, that argument is completely moot, if you will, and is kind of just like, facts are facts, guys. Facts beat emotion. That ties into the next part that I was going to say is, don't think that, guys, that we're going to be losing a ton of like quote unquote fan support. I
don't buy that at all.
Yeah.
When issues like this happen, people who are emotionally driven are always the most vocal. Yeah. Look at your Facebook feed or your Twitter feed. Whenever people are talking about politics, for example, whether it's either side, it's the people that don't really look at the facts so much and are just going based off of emotion, those are the people who are going out, and they end up changing their mind anyway. Perfect example, a couple of years ago when our man Damian Dotson came over, I don't think nearly as many people caught on because it was basketball, and at the time we were really sucking. But Damian Dotson had some sort of rape allegations against him when he came in from Oregon, and Damian Dotson is one of the most beloved recent Cougar players,
absolutely, without a doubt,
of them all.
And that was a direct allegation. That was like naming him as a person. He did this. He specifically, did this.
the school, and basically he was vetted. The school ended up dropping the charges, but at the same time, once things blow up like that, the reputation is tarnished, and you've got to move on. And that's what he did. And now he, took the next step, and now he's playing for the Knicks and killing it. Yeah. So I see no reason to think that the exact same is not going to happen with Kendal Briles. I will say personally, I've spoken with people who have worked on some of these cases. I will remain nameless of who they are, but
sources.
I swear to God,
no, it's legitimate sources.
Yeah, it's legit sources.
Yeah.
Legitimate sources. Kendal Briles' name has not been mentioned once to me about the situation, and a lot of weird things I have had come up. So with that, I take that with a grain of salt, and I think we should probably start from here on. Cut the shit, if you will, and look forward on the positives and the facts and what we're going to see from production. Tim, you want to lead us off on some Statty Boys?
Yeah, so,
Boys.
Kendal has been an offensive coordinator for, I think, going on 4 or 5 years now. Started at Baylor. Once Philip Montgomery took the job at Tulsa, he took over as OC. For those that don't know, Kendal Briles is a former U of H quarterback. He transferred from Texas to U of H when his dad took the job here.
Right.
Some of the things that he's going to bring to the table, you're going to see a lot of offense that reminds you of spread, veer. You're going to see a lot of 4 wide receiver sets. You're going to see a lot of motion. You're going to see a lot of speed. And that's one of the things that we've gotten away from the past couple years. You go back just most recently since all of us were in college. You think about the quick 6, Tyrone Carriers, just these absolutely fast guys.
Pat Daddy,
exactly.
83rd Nation, baby. 83rd Nation.
And anything, before that, too.
Michael Hayes.
We've gotten away from that, but I think you're going to see with Kendal Briles and Randy Clement, a lot of these guys think that, it's pure spread. It's just pass. These guys love to run the ball, but they use the motion and the passing to set up the running game. And I think that's going to bode well for us because, for lack of better words, we haven't been fairly dominant in the running game outside of Greg Ward and being a mobile quarterback, and when we had Jackson and Farrow. So I'm personally excited about that. While he was at FAU, he had the number 6 total rushing offense last year and was in top 10 in total offense and scoring offense. And we're talking about a 3-9 FAU team from 2016. This guy got in there and took whatever talent and playmakers that he had there and just absolutely blew the whole thing up.
Exactly.
Their main running back, Devin Singletary, went from a 1,000-yard rusher to almost a 2,000-yard rusher and almost tripled his rushing touchdowns in 1 year. I mean,
insane.
That doesn't happen just because you're some regular dude who knows how to read a playbook, which, by the way, Kendal Briles does not have a playbook. For those that are keeping score at home, there is no playbook whatsoever. They keep it very, very simple. In fact, we tweeted about it just the other day. If you go back in our previous tweets, it's a whole long Reddit thing about how they keep it very, very simple. We're talking like 6 or 7 main plays, and then from there it kind of divides up. But last year they were number 2 in the nation in points per possession. They increased their points per game by 14 and more than 100 more total offensive yards in a year. So, I mean, in the 3 years of being an OC, he's gotten 41 points per game out of Baylor and out of FAU. So, on the field, just purely speaking on the field between him and Randy Clement, I think we're in for a pretty damn good ride for next year. To what degree?
Absolutely.
I'm not exactly sure. I want to say that we have a lot of good skill position guys, and we have the potential to make this offense blow up. But I have to believe that, speaking on the field with Kendal Briles and Randy Clement, I think we're going to be in very, very, very good hands with these 2 guys who have a lot of experience now.
I agree. Tim, I just wanted to go and correct you on another naming pronunciation since you're so great at them. It is Clements. It is Clements.
Oh, I don't know why I didn't put that on there. I knew it was Clements.
I feel like you keep on saying like Clementine or something.
Oh, well, I said Clement instead of Clements.
Clement.
So lo siento, Coach Randy. My bad.
Hey, you're good. Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. One of the things that we, had a huge issue with last year was the offense, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
If our defense can continue to have the production, I mean, one of the coolest stats that you'd put up with all year was that we let teams score less than their average
right.
On
points per game. Yeah,
right.
Points per game for almost every single game this last year. If we can continue that, I'm not sure how much we can. But if we can and have this explosive kind of offense, it'll be really interesting. I don't know if you guys heard some of the folks from Florida Atlantic's press, but they seem to think that Kendal Briles wasn't really calling the plays, and I don't know about all that.
Well, just one thing to keep in mind also. Yes, I know we lost DeJuan Hines and Matthew Adams, but outside of defensive lineman Reggie Chavis.
Thurman.
No. Well, yeah, Thurman and
well.
Chavis. We're bringing almost everyone back on the 2 deep and adding Isaiah Chambers and possibly adding Deontay Anderson. So our defense is going to be even better, and we kept our defensive coordinator. So that's another year, another whole offseason of him. So I've got to believe that we're not going to see a huge drop-off on our defense. If we could just figure out the offensive side and really mainly the quarterback and the running back, if we can figure out those two, we're going to be just fine for the next couple of years. So
I feel like if we could have put a decent product on the field last year, we could have been potentially playing in the conference title game.
Oh, my God.
I'm being dead serious.
I mean, just even if we had like across the board quality quarterback play with limited turnovers and just efficiency, we'd have been fine. Oh my God, we win more of those games than we did this year. So I've got to believe that with the addition of Kendal Briles, who is also a former quarterback, and has seen the RG3s and has seen even Jeff Driscoll, who was at FAU, did okay. So I've got to believe that we're just going to take the next step on the offense.
Oh,
I agree.
I'll put it this way. I don't think you can get any worse than we did last year. I'm being dead serious. Anything he's going to do is going to be an upgrade.
Agreed.
Absolutely anything.
Agreed.
I'm telling you, this team in 2 years is going to be deadly on offense.
The only
word
of caution, and I think we don't even have to worry about it, is we've seen how the offense now is with Major through Tom Herman and Brian Johnson. This is Major's offense that he's been wanting to run.
Right.
I hope
we've been pounding that down people's heads.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I hope, given that, he lets Briles come in and just really work the offense and just get his fingers in there.
I'll put it this way. I don't think Kendal Briles would have taken the job if he was going to have to learn Major's offense, and I don't think he would have given him the associate head coaching position if he wasn't going to be able to do his own offense.
Agreed.
Right.
And I also the theory that Kendal Briles, in order for him to lure him over to another non-Power 5, quote unquote, I think he wanted that associate head coaching title.
I agree.
I think that was just one feather to stick in his hat. I think that was part of one of his little negotiation tactics to get in here. And I also think he wouldn't have taken the job if he can't do his own offense.
I agree. And I think that one of the things, I
was going to put my tinfoil hat on.
Tinfoil hat on. I think Pesman.
No, listen. Kendal Briles is now associate head coach. LSU is sucking wind across the border. I think that if Edo cannot put it together and Kendal comes in here and we get 10 wins, watch out for Major. Major's a Louisiana boy. Major goes to LSU.
I love that.
Kendal gets promoted up.
Honestly,
I'm just saying.
I'm fine with it.
Tinfoil hat on.
I'm fine with it.
Tinfoil hat on. I'm just saying. I'm just looking at it like LSU. If you look at the Reddit comments because they're going to promote their OC within, and it is just, for lack of better terms, and if you're on Reddit, you know, it is just LSU fans saying, just chop my dick off. Just fuck me up, fam.
Whoa.
I'm serious. I'm serious. That's all it is.
Yeah, I mean, I in my opinion, I don't know that I'd be super upset about that, the way that this last season went. But and if somebody can coach their way to us to 10 wins with that kind of offense, then I'd be fine hiring them as our head coach. And
what I'm interested in though too is seeing Major now, if he doesn't have a control in the offense or is trying to worry about what Brian Johnson's doing with his offense. Maybe if now that he just steps away, he might be a lot more effective as a coach. We know he's a decent recruiter. He knows the state of Texas.
Yeah.
he can be a presence. He's not, the presence we all want or dream of.
Right.
But I mean, who knows? He might turn out to be a lot better CEO type of coach than one that's also manning a portion of the team and also trying to run the show.
Maybe
so we'll see what he does.
Right?
Maybe he can step back and tell Coach Deed.
Maybe Major will be out more in the public sphere this year, which I really hope he.
I would love to see that happen.
Does personally.
I feel like Tom Herman was on his Twitter like every other day, and I barely see anything.
Was at City Hall, the Chronicle office, the Channel 11 News studio, like every other day.
Yeah, I agree. And last to touch up with the fact that I think Kendal has full reins to this offense. I think Pesman came down and sat old Major down and said, you better get somebody who can run this kind of offense or a high-scoring offense. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to fight for you to stay employed here at the University of Houston.
I think that has a lot to do with it. I also think it's also because Pesman and a lot of his boys from back in the day are probably pretty high up donors.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure it's been a lot in his ear, just even when he was at Cal, like our offense sucks, like this and this and this, before he even got to the job. It'd be like us three just, having a little chit chat. If Tim was over at Cal, I'd be like, yeah, dude, our offense sucks now. He's like, well, that sucks. So now he comes down here. We're like, hey, we need to do something about this. He's like, you're right. And we knew this all along that he was going to have to make a change. So,
well, and tell you what, every time a new AD is brought in, they want to have their guy. I mean, this just gives them more ammo, him more ammo to say, hey, look, dude, you couldn't make it get done, so I'm just going to have to go in a different direction.
And even before we hired Major, there were people that were shouting to hire Art Briles last year, regardless of people. I don't agree with it, but I'm just saying there were certain older alumni that were like, bring back Art Briles.
Yeah.
So.
And that's probably because they were like, God, we want an offense again. I'll take anybody. Seriously, I guarantee you that's where a lot of that came from.
Man.
Now, it's obviously misguided and short-sighted, but, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm not saying I wanted that to happen.
Right.
So, Coug fans, let's all just love each other again. It's not that difficult.
Same
I would
team,
love
bro.
to see.
Same team.
And renew your season tickets to support university and your student athletes.
100% agree. All of us will still have our season tickets this next season.
Catch us in Section 102, baby.
Section 102 matters.
Yep.
Fact. So, with that being said, I mean, let's wrap up football with this national championship that's just happened.
It's a very sad day. It is now officially 233 days until football kicks off again. That is true. Sad.
So since we talked to you guys last, we had the Oklahoma and Alabama game, and then the Georgia and Clemson game, and we saw how those went.
No, flip that.
Did I flip that? Did I get that wrong?
It's okay. No big deal. Same 4 teams in there. It is what it is.
Trippy. But, I mean, last night was very controversial. Obviously, we saw a team, UCF, go out from the American Athletic Conference, went undefeated, beat Auburn, and went ahead and declared themselves national champions. We've had some fun on Twitter with that.
You officially can. You can claim a national champion. It's not you're not unanimous or anything like that, but you can claim whatever the hell you want. I mean, somebody went on Reddit and did like a whole list of teams that claim national titles. Hell, Bama.
I know A&M for one.
Yeah, SMU's claimed 3. Alabama claims 17, but they only have like 7 that are undisputed. The rest are all split.
Right.
So knock yourself out.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of claiming, like, do I think UCF deserved a shot? Absolutely. But
100% agree.
For me to sit there and say they're national champions, I'd be kidding myself if I fully believe that.
Sure. But I think what this
and
is.
If they weren't in our conference, none of y'all would agree with it.
Yeah.
But this
not my champion.
Yeah. This is a situation where this is more of a PR move to force the hand of the CFP to move to 8 teams.
Yeah.
For the playoff. I think it's going to happen within the next 4 years. There's just too much of this, in my opinion, I think there's absolutely no way in hell that Alabama should have gotten in the playoff. being the number 3 team in the SEC over conference champions, even in the P5, I think is just BS personally. I understand. Theoretically, you could call anybody the 4th best team, and that's why we moved away from the BCS system, and I absolutely hate it. I think many more of the P5 are even going to start pushing for the 8 teams so that they can at least have the opportunity, because otherwise you're going to have 2 SEC teams every single year.
I don't know about every single year, but I mean, we've been talking, and I'm the first one to say that I fully believe Alabama should have been the number 4 spot, because based off of what the committee says, they change their crap every year. One year they say conference titles matters, other they don't. This year they were saying we want to get the 4 best teams no matter what, because last year they went for the 4 conference title games, and those semifinal games were terrible.
Yeah. And you remember
awful.
They said you have to have a 13th data point. That's why the Big 12 went to a conference championship, and then Alabama doesn't win their conference, and they get in. They don't even have the 13th data point, and they get in.
Yeah.
So,
but they just proved they proved the bad thing for. It's just bad for. I think it's bad for the people that want to push to 8 that Alabama won last night.
Yeah.
I do, because it says that they got it right by allowing them at number 4. That's exactly what it proves. They went out there and they beat Clemson. And then they went out there and beat the SEC champion that they didn't get to play against, proving that their loss to Auburn was a fluke, which it was a fluke.
That's true, but what they've done is they've sparked a fire within college football fandom where you've got it clearly split between 2 people, where I think it is pretty evenly matched. Well, I'll even say, I mean, we put a poll out yesterday. It was like, who are you polling for? Georgia, Alabama, or UCF. Yeah. Well, not one person voted for Alabama, but a lot of.
Well, no one. I mean, they've been in the last 3 national titles. I think the best case scenario would have been if Clemson would have went out there and just absolutely steamrolled Alabama.
Correct.
After Ohio State's dominating performance against USC in the Cotton Bowl, like that team looked freakishly good.
Yeah.
But then again, we go back and we'll talk about it. I mean, they somehow let Iowa drop 33 on them.
Yep.
I mean, 33 more or 50. They won by 33, excuse me.
Yeah.
So what do you do? It needs to go away from 4, but at the same time, now they have an argument saying they got it right because the 4th team won it.
Yeah.
I guess. We'll see what happens, but rumor is that before this contract is out, they will move to 8 teams from inside the league.
Speaking of the game, though, Georgia's coaching staff lost that game in the second half for Georgia.
Yeah.
I agree.
For whatever reason, during Oklahoma, they made the adjustment at halftime to give the ball to Sonny Michel more, and then the floodgates opened. And then they were so busy being pragmatic with trying to get Nick Chubb running game going. Nick Chubb didn't have a yard over 5 yards, I don't believe. I could be totally wrong. This is coming off the top of my head, like once. Alabama was stuffing him at the line of scrimmage for the most part of the game, and they went away from Sonny Michel. And I don't know why. And they took the ball out of Jake Fromm's hands, let him throw it on the field. They got real cute going that offense, taking Jake Fromm and moving him the wild dog, they called it, whenever they needed to put a drive together. That touchdown. That whole possession right there after Alabama went and scored on the 4th and 4.
Yeah.
To get within another before that, they kicked the field goal to even get within that. That drive was just like, y'all are losing it. Like, what are you doing?
I think they got really cute with that wild dog.
Me too.
But I think that Alabama turned it on in the second half with their defense and just shut them out. I mean, final score is what?
Well, they couldn't get anything done on offense.
Look at Sonny Michel's carries in the second half.
Yeah.
Why? None. Like, hardly.
I know.
Like, I don't.
And that's why Bama's been there. Saban's been there. I mean, outside of his gamble to put in Tua, I mean, they know what works and what they can do, what can't do.
That kid's a freak.
Dude, that kid's got an arm. Oh my God, does he have an arm?
That was wild.
The way they won that game, I mean, I think 95% of the country thought that Alabama was out whenever they got that sack on the first play in the overtime. Like, I was like, there they go, boom, done.
There it goes.
And that kid slings it down the field like that. You're just like, mouth just drop. It just goes into shock.
Yeah,
it's
that
crazy.
guy got burned too. I don't know where their defense was, but overall, it was a hell of a game. I think we can all agree. We didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night. It was pretty incredible. And we've got a national champion per the CFB, and
Hey, I will have to say
champion
this.
the governor of Florida.
Oh,
I will
man.
say this. Hats off to UCF. They got 6 first-place votes or something like that. So, hey,
Really?
tip of the cap to you. Yeah, Bama got like 51 out of 57, something like that. So, I think it's awesome.
Gotcha.
But then they're not even in the way too early top 25 next year. So, such is life in the G5.
I mean, yeah, we know how that is.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you guys have anything else you guys want to touch on football? I know Jameson's got to run pretty soon. Just wanted to see y'all's final thoughts before we move on to basketball.
I am
Not really. I mean, I'm stoked for U of H heading into next year, and I wish we could just fast forward to our season preview for football already.
I know.
Pretty hype.
It's going to be, we're 233 days away from kickoff. That means we're probably about 203 days away from doing that preview.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Let's do
we've
it.
talked about it. We're probably going to do some like miscellaneous football episodes here and there, sort of shorter videos that we can put up online that aren't necessarily U of H directed, but are more, college football debates, paying players, etc. during the off season to keep everybody interested. So that'll be fun.
Bet you can't guess who ESPN put out as their number one preseason too early top 25 for football.
Roll Tide, Paul.
What's scary is they finally found a quarterback, and everyone's
Yeah.
like, "Shit."
Yeah.
Well,
Shit.
That's what I did. I was like, "God."
Agreed. I haven't seen the top 25. Let me guess, Texas is in there.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I don't know. It was on Instagram, so it was just the top 10. West Virginia was 10. I was like, okay.
Okay.
But all right, well, I'll let you boys go and talk some shooty hoops. I got to get running, take care of some things, but enjoyed talking this Kendal Briles stuff with you boys, and look forward to putting up 40 points a game next season.
There we go. That's what I'm talking
Cougs.
All
about.
right.
Later.
Go Cougs.
And we are back, ladies and
We're back.
gentlemen.
We're back.
Hashtag Team Clean Rooms are back to talk to you
Clean rooms and hydrated.
guys about some UH basketball.
That is correct. When we last spoke to you guys, we were previewing USF, Temple, and Wichita State, so we're going to jump right into that.
Right.
The good news is the good guys have done some winning since the last time we spoke. First game,
Some winning. Some winning and some losing, but some
majority
winning.
winning.
Majority.
First game, we need to talk about UH versus South Florida. We win this game
Correct.
79-60. Corey Davis Jr. scored 15 points. Brooks had 14, and that was our third straight win at the time. Truthfully, in my opinion, this was an easy
Sure.
win. I never really was worried about us losing this game at all. So, hats off to Samson going on the road for the first conference game and getting the W.
I agree, man. This was a good one for the program, only because USF you'll find is not doing so hot in our power rankings.
Not so
But
much.
one of the things, not so much. But one of the things we can take a look at is like, USF is going to be much improved in the next couple of years. They weren't bad. They had 3 guys in double digits. They had Brown, Manderson, and Collins that all actually played pretty decent games. The first half was kind of frustrating. It looked like every time it looked like we were going to go ahead and take away with it, they came back. And then in the beginning of the second half, they did pretty well. And, obviously we won the game because we shot, great free throw percentage because we went to the line 16 times, but 3-point percentage is awful, and I think that's actually a trend that we've got to start looking at.
Yeah.
This was the second of Gray's kind of rough games. 11 points. You'll start to see a trend with this, and Armani Brooks ends up leading him again. It's just a situation, we're now talking pre-New Year's, so it's a little hard to remember everything from the game. But, we just need some more production from Gray in order to stay an elite team.
Correct.
I definitely think we're still, a top 5 team, but in conference, top 4 team in conference with
Right.
Gray being average. But if Gray is on, there's the ability to be a top 2 team, I think.
Right.
Possibly. 2, I think, is still going to be tough. Cincinnati and Wichita State are really damn good, as we found out. But it was an interesting one, and sort of set the tone. We went off and did really well in out of conference and completely fell flat on our faces. That would look freaking terrible. Yeah. So good job. Road wins are always awesome. Yeah. And then we'll jump on to the next game.
Yeah, we played Temple. We actually beat them 76-73. Very close game.
Nail biter.
Yeah, Breon Brady scored a career high 21 points. It was 8 of 9, had 9 rebounds. Kid was just a beast the whole game.
And that was almost in the first half because he went out a couple minutes in, I believe, to the second half. If it wasn't a couple minutes right before the half, the kid was just a monster. The entire game.
Had a nasty ankle injury. I don't.
Right.
We haven't gotten any update on that, I don't think. But
I've heard that basically he's still in recovery mode. But what we're looking for is if he's good to practice, then he'll play on Thursday. If he practiced today, I don't know if he practiced today. This is Tuesday.
Right.
Then he should be good to play against Tulsa. So they're going to give him a whole 2-day wait for the next game once he practices.
Well, and I think what more so bugs me about this game is that Rob Gray had 8 points, Corey Davis Jr. 9 points, Galen 0 points. We're not going to win very many games with those 3 guys and not in double digits.
Oh no, and I don't want to take a whole lot away from Temple. I don't think that a 7-6 record is nearly close enough to say how good this team is.
Right.
They're pretty good. Alston Jr., 18 points. Rose was on fire for a significant part of the game. And Pierre Lewis were all across the place. You've got freaking incredible play from them definitely in the second half. It looked like we were going to go ahead and, tear it away midway through the second half. But we definitely need more from Gray. This is unacceptable. We need more points from Robinson. Corey Davis, that's the thing. If this is Brooks' second game in a row with 14 points.
Right.
But for us to be able to be successful, we need Corey Davis or Rob Gray to be scoring 15, 20 points a game.
Right.
So, or at least close to that. So you're not going to win a lot of games shooting 47% and 26% from the 3-point line. Our 3-point percentage, I don't know what is going on, but has just been terrible. Van Beck has been on a tear of awful shot selection, in my opinion. I don't know if he was getting confident or something. It seems like there's something going on in the team, that mid-season lull. They're not going to say that it's going to stay around for forever. Obviously we had some shining points, some more of the same in the next game against Wichita State. But overall, a win is a win.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really excited to see a guy, Breon Brady, coming in and really showing as a force underneath the basket, where we've seen some, obviously Devin Davis has been doing really well. But, we're lucky we've got Breon Brady for 2 years.
Yeah.
If this guy can develop next year, that's going to be a huge help with him and Davis, both as juniors. This is going to be an awesome little squad.
Agreed. And then now we need to talk about the bad news. Unfortunately, next game we played at number 9 Wichita State, and I believe that was their conference opener, and
it was
the first game for them in the AAC.
Yes, so they were lit to be expected. I will say, barring a tournament berth in a hometown or something like that, or a Duke North Carolina rivalry, that was one of the craziest environments I've seen in college basketball of recent time. That was just amazing. They did a fantastic job of lighting up the entire sections with, you wear this color, you wear this color, you wear this color. It looked freaking awesome.
Oh yeah.
And that crowd was so lit. It was we knew from the very beginning of the season this was probably going to be a loss. Just didn't know how much it was going to be. This ended up being an 18-point loss. But honestly, I'm not
much worse.
It could have been much worse. I mean, we're down by I believe like more than 30 points at one point in time, and we just shot awfully. 41%, 26% from free throw, or sorry from the 3-point line. And once again, we have to get production from Davis, Gray, or Armani Brooks. Armani Brooks, on the flip side, only 4 points this game, but gosh, I mean, his 3-point percentage was awful. All I see is just awful shot selection from 3-point line.
Yeah.
The defense with the zone that we were playing, or sorry, the man that we were playing against them. No, it was zone. They were playing zone.
Correct.
Was not working. I will say there were so many shots that we were watching this game that were contested that just magically made it in for Wichita. I have, barring like a Kobe-esque performance where you just can't guard the guy, there's been very few games where I've seen somebody shoot that well. Ended up 17 out of 22 3-pointers.
Yeah.
Sorry, incorrect. 12 out of 27 3-pointers, and we're shooting, decently well across the board. We're sending them to the line entirely too much. But man, that Shamet kid was insane.
Shamet, yeah.
McDuffie killed it. 18 points in 22 minutes. I mean, that was rough, guys.
Yeah.
And the good news is, watching that game, I saw so many, like I mentioned, I saw so many shots go that normally wouldn't go.
Right. They literally could not miss.
There were so many they didn't even like try to pass inside the hoop, just made it up right past the 3-point line, went for the shot, and they made them. Yeah. And I personally don't like that kind of basketball, but if I was a Wichita State fan the other day, I was probably extremely excited, especially because they had, we were 12-2 at the time. They're 12-2 as well. So Cougs are now sitting at 12-3 after the loss to Wichita State. I don't think we should get too down on this one.
We were never going to win this game, truthfully. No. I mean, never.
Put it this. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, just because we lose this game does not derail,
the rest of our season.
Right. Absolutely not. Does it suck? Yes. I think it kind of brings everyone back to reality and realizes there's still such a large talent gap between us and the haves that Samson is trying to still fix and might fix next year. But from where we've come from to where we are, there's still this little spot where we need to go to get that next step. Like I've been talking about this whole time, of the difference between a NIT 2 seed versus a last 4 in or an at-large.
Sure. Definitely. I mean, looking at this game with Gray playing terribly and Wichita State the way that they played, we looked like an NIT number 1 seed as opposed to a, probable 4 seed for the American Athletic Conference.
Right.
Now, that's not to say that that's going to happen in our game, or we won't see the same performance in our game at home. I personally hate the fact that game is going to be at 11 a.m. on a Saturday morning. But, in my opinion, the way that they played that night looked like a Final Four team to me.
Yeah.
That was insane. And
hats
off to Wichita State. I will bite my tongue for saying I didn't think that this was going to be a great move. And we're already in the national spotlight for the American Athletic Conference. The writing's kind of been on the wall for teams like Memphis and UConn being down a little bit, and this has just kept us in. We're definitely a 3 conference or a 3 seed conference, and we'll see if the Cougs can win the ones we need to. We should be at least in the tournament. So,
no, I agree.
With that, I guess we'll go ahead and jump on to power rankings, right?
Yeah, let's do our power rankings. This is as of right now. We're recording on January 9th, so there's a few games that are being played and about to play by the time we get this out to you guys. So understand that. With that said, I think it's undeniable who the number 12 seed is going to be, and that is the sad South Florida Bulls. They're 0-4 in conference and 7-10 overall. They're not good at all. And truth be told, this is where they were projected to be with preseason.
Sure.
So it is what it is. Maybe they can right this ship down the road, but I think this year I don't see much change with these guys.
No, I think, at the end of the day, it's going to be hovering between East Carolina and USF, and it's just not looking so bright for either of them, and that leads us into our number 11 ECU, sitting at 1-3 in conference. South Florida's 0-4, and I'm not sold on on the squad.
Well,
I'm really not.
I will say this: ECU has at least gotten one conference win, but ECU is having major coaching issues. They've always had basketball issues. I think it'll be a pillow fight between ECU and UCF for the entire year of basketball, truth be told.
I agree. We wrote someone else in, but I'm going to go ahead and interject, and I'm going to go ahead and put Temple in at number 10, only because they're on a 5-loss streak and they're 0-4 in conference right now.
Right.
We had them flip-flopped earlier with UConn, but, we know that UConn has a ton of injuries. I think they just suffered another injury.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and call this a tie, basically.
Right.
UConn sitting at 1-2 in conference. Overall, they still have a winning record, but, this bottom four is starting to really sort of show itself. And unfortunately, one of the most, as recently as 5 years ago, won a national title. We've got UConn at 8-7, so would love to see them step it up a little bit.
Yeah, so with that tie, between Temple and UConn, our number 8 spot goes to the Memphis Tigers. They're 11-6 overall, but 2-2 in conference, so they're having a bit of a rough go thus far. Most recently, they beat Tulsa. They've won here a few games, but I don't know if Memphis is going to be able to take that step this year. I think they're having issues as well. I just don't think Memphis has it into being a dominant basketball school anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about it anymore. I definitely don't think that. I definitely think Memphis and UConn in the next couple of years will return. But for this year, the middle of the pack is pretty close. Mm-hmm. With that said, there's not a whole lot to throw in for the next guy. Two guys, really. You've got our two upcoming opponents. You've got Tulsa in at 7 and Tulane in at 6. These three teams are all so close. You've got Memphis at 10-6. You've got Tulane at 11-4, playing really great basketball, actually. And you've got Tulsa, who's actually in front of us in the AAC standings at 10-6. I'm not sold on Tulsa yet. I'm going to be very interested to see how we play them. But overall, I think these three guys are probably going to stay in this little pack together.
But are you sold on the Green Wave? That's the question.
I am sold on the Green Wave, actually. I think
I am shocked, truth be told. If you would have told me last week that Tulane was going to beat SMU, I said, what, in football 3 years ago?
Yeah.
Because I would have never, ever guessed that for Tulane.
Nope.
Truthfully.
Nope. And that's why we basically have, despite this loss, SMU in at number 5. And that's just because of the way that they've been playing the rest of the season. This isn't the SMU team of the last couple of years. But SMU is still very good, guys. So
well, they're having a bit of a rough go in conference. I mean, they were killing it in out of conference
so far
with it, like we talked about with Arizona. But starting off 2-2 is not what you would have expected from these guys, as they've been so dominant and won last year's regular season.
I think we're starting to see the Larry Brown effect fade a little bit.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why, without getting too far into it. We'll probably talk about that a little bit later. Or at another time. Then next we've got in at number 4, your Houston Cougars. Unfortunately, we're sitting at in the 5 spot in the conference standings now at 2-1 with a 12-3 record, which puts us, for the season tied. Right in 4th place, right underneath UCF, who's playing pretty well, and right above us. The Cougs are just going to have to make that decision. That killer instinct is going to have to come back from Rob Gray. It's not there right now. I don't know why. I would love to be the kind of team that does it.
It's the man bun. I know it. It's the man bun.
The man bun?
It's got to be the man bun.
I don't think so. I'm team man bun.
No.
He was playing great with the man bun. But I will say this. I would love for us to be the kind of team where we didn't have to talk about how Rob Gray was playing every other day.
Right.
We're that team. And he's done this every single season since he's been playing with us. Mm-hmm. He's been great, and then he's had his slide, and then he picks back up again.
Yep.
And I think we're going to see that again. And, luckily, this middle chunk of conference isn't as tough as it could be.
Right.
And we can probably get away with a couple of wins without him playing, in his true form.
Agreed.
Then next, I think this is pretty obvious. You've got Cincinnati and Wichita. Cincinnati in at 2, Wichita at number 1. Wichita, in my opinion, is a Final Four caliber team this year. And I definitely think that Cincinnati is around a 32, maybe a Sweet 16 team.
No, I agree. I have no issues with these top 2 and then UCF at 3. I think we're at a soft 4. I need to see more out of Rob Gray and Devin Davis. Like you said, between SMU, Tulane, and Tulsa, Memphis, those 4 squads, that's not a gimme. Maybe Temple, UConn, but ECU, USF should be gimmies. If we're not on our P's and Q's on those games, especially the guys we have to play away, we're not going to be sitting too hot in conference, and we don't have a very large margin of error if we're trying to get into the NCAA tournament. So I hope we respect the teams, like a Tulane or a Tulsa that normally we would have handled accordingly. But this year they're doing much better than anticipated. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Speaking of our top 2 seeds, we'll go ahead and give you our top 25 guys in the from the American. We've got Wichita in the AP tied with Purdue at number 5. Mm-hmm. I think their last win over us kind of helped really boost them up in the rankings. That should give you guys some hope that the folks are looking very highly of us this year. They're also 5 in the coaches poll, and Cincinnati sits at 14 in the AP top 25 and 13 in the coaches poll.
Right.
So looking good for the Cougs, slowly creeping up. But
the good news
these are 2 teams that I don't see falling out.
Right. No, all I was going to say is the good news is right now the AAC is the number 7 conference. We are right behind the Pac-12. So any conference game is going to look good for us. We're only 2 non-conference wins behind the Pac-12. So I think that says a lot for where this league has gone in just, 4 short years that it's been around. More specifically, U of H is projected to finish 19-11. And I think that 20th win is the Tulane game. I think they've maybe sided with Tulane a little bit more. But the good news is currently our RPI...
I don't see us losing 8 more games.
I mean, we're going to – I don't want to go into that just yet.
Yeah, okay, I know.
But overall, what I'm saying is, like we were talking about earlier, if the Rob Gray show isn't on and the Armani Brooks doesn't save us and the Devin Davis or the Breon Brady doesn't have the game of their life, I can kind of see why real-time RPI has us, where we're at. So with that said, let's talk about the next few upcoming games because as you guys know, we're talking to you every other week. So we got a couple games to cover. Our first one's going to be Tulsa in 2 days here in Houston at 6 p.m. on ESPNU. Right now, Tulsa's 96 in RPI. The last 5 games, they had a loss to Memphis, win against UConn, Tulane, ECU, and then one last loss in the non-conference. So they're doing pretty well the last 5 games. And again, that's that chunk that we said we have to get W's on that chunk. And we have to respect them because if we don't, we're going to catch an L. And like I said, our margin of error is razor thin right now.
Oh, definitely. And you may not think so highly of Tulsa, but Tulsa overall has always been a top half team in whatever conference they've been in basketball. They're always the sneaky team that doesn't get enough love and is definitely the kind of team that if you sleep on them will make you hurt.
Are you saying they're sneaky good? Is that what you're saying?
They're sneaky good, I guess you could say. But they've got some pretty good guys as far as points per game. Junior E2 is killing it at 17.1. They've only got 3 guys in double digits averaging. Sterling Tappan as well as Daquan Jeffries. This is a squad that I think luckily we're playing them at home for this one. I believe we still play them away later on down the train. But
I think so.
That actually... No, I think this is our only matchup against them.
Okay.
But like I mentioned, luckily we've got this one at home, and it's gonna be an interesting little slate for the Cougs. But I think we've got this one. Hope to see everybody out at the game. I know it's gonna be tough. January is a weird month for everybody. I think we all have the hangover from what was December.
Yeah.
And I mean, we personally have a extremely busy January.
Just a little bit.
It's kind of crazy.
Right.
But that's why we're recording tonight.
Right.
So next we've got our game against East Carolina on the 14th at 1 p.m. Very weird timing, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. ECU's got an RPI of 321, which is god-awful. That's like one of the worst RPIs you can have in the entire nation. Their last 5 games, they caught an L against UConn, somehow beat USF in the pillow fight of the century. USF, but then lost before that to UCF, where they only scored a whopping 39 points. They lost to Tulsa before that and caught a win against Grambling State. This is a must-win. This is actually going to hurt our RPI. But this is one of those, like, there's no reason why we should struggle this game at all.
Absolutely not. That would be very, very, very bad for us if we did make that happen. East Carolina is just not looking good. Their free throw percentage is a 63.6%. When you're at 26% averaging at three-pointer, this is not a good team, guys.
No,
they can't shoot the three. They can't shoot from the foul line. It's they're just not looking too good. They've got a couple of guys. They've got Isaac Fleming, B.J. Tyson, Kentrell Barkley, all scoring in double digits, but nothing really surprising. This is a squad. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw another coaching change coming up soon.
Right.
So,
well, they already did. They did. I think his name was Jeff Lebo or something like that. Or they lost their
because
head
he
coach.
basically quit halfway through the season. But I'm just not sure that I think this guy's an interim.
Right. That's correct. Yeah. No, you're correct.
So I don't. That's right.
Yeah, that's all I was getting at.
So, luckily, this is definitely an away win. We have to win.
Right.
And luckily, we play them twice this season. So,
well, not so luckily because their RPI is
hurt.
Absolutely garbage.
Sure, but with wins, the back slate of their their game coming at the back slate of the season, it should still help with, we've got 3 of these like middle to bottom pack teams all at home in the last couple of games. That should really help us going in, I think, to Selection Sunday, and at least the conference tournament. And nobody knows what's going to happen in the conference tournament. I definitely think we can imagine that Cincinnati and Wichita State are going to be up at the top, but I mean, it's basketball. Yeah. Anything can happen. That's why we play this great game. So it's going to be an interesting one. Definitely need to win at Greenville, and I guess we'll go to the next.
Well, 3 days after that, we take another road trip and go to at Tulane on the 17th at 7 p.m. on ESPN News. Tulane, surprise team of the year at number 88 in the RPI. Oh, yeah. They have wins against SMU recently, a loss to Tulsa, but a win against Temple, South Alabama, and Nicholls State recently. This will be a very telling kind of where we fit in the hierarchy of the AAC. We know we're not in the top 2, maybe in a 3, but maybe we're 4 through 6. I don't really know just yet, but I think this game will tell us a lot where we're at. Hats off to Tulane for taking a big giant step up in basketball. Something I never would have thought they've done. But then again, I didn't think we were going to lose to them at football, and here we are, 7-5.
Very true. I mean, honestly, Tulane athletic department, for who they are and what they've been doing in the last 10 years, is absolutely murdering it. Football is on the up. Baseball's been killing it recently, and basketball has already won 5 more games than they did last year, and we're not even into the midway of the season, barely into conference. Mm-hmm. Very impressive. Interesting stat line. What you can take a look is that basically they have 6 guys that are all averaging 9 or more points a game. But all of those guys are basically playing for 29 minutes or more. So this is a very obvious squad that has gone in, and normally, it reminds me a lot of like SMU football, right? They've got a good couple of like frontline guys, and then there's nothing because their entire bottom half of the roster is getting less than 5 minutes per game. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be interesting. Definitely that elite group of guys for Tulane are going to be playing well, but we're going to have to step it up and definitely fight hard. And I hope Rob Gray is on in this game, because otherwise this could get pretty brutal.
Agreed.
Not so hot. So,
well, then 3 days after that, the big one, the big game of the year, I think, at home, we'll be hosting Wichita State. No telling what they'll be ranked at the time, but it's going to be 11 a.m. on ESPNU. That's a Saturday. Currently number 19 in RPI. As we know, they've won the last 4 out of 5, including wins against us, UConn, Florida Gulf Coast, Arkansas State, but then a loss to Oklahoma. So, huge game. We really got to have everyone show up on this one. I don't think we're going to have the same crowd atmosphere like they did at Wichita State, but that's okay, because this is this 1 year reprieve. I think it'll be much different next year. Well, hopefully we get them at home and home as well. I think we will. But, hopefully with some home cooking, we make this much more interesting and not nearly as big of a blowout, and they knock down friggin' every damn 3 that they toss up.
No, not at all. I think we were playing so bad that game, and they were playing so good that game. When we're playing, 70% of our best ball, right? That game could have been a 5 to 10 point game. So, I think at home, this is going to be very, very telling of if we are able to squeak out one of those spots. I honestly think, whatever real-time RPI thinks we're going to lose 8 games. I really only can pull off. I'll say 4 to 5 for the rest of the season. I easily think that we're going to get to 20 wins. I don't think that that's going to happen. Rob Gray turns it back on. We're good. That makes this game much more interesting. If we can get a game where Rob Gray, Devin Davis, Corey Davis, and Armani Brooks are all playing pretty good, this could be within, 5 points, in my opinion.
Within striking distance.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I'm not going to pull for a win on this one, but at least a good showing against them will help for the selection committee going on Selection Sunday.
No, I agree.
So,
and then the last game we're going to cover, we get a week off, and then we get USF back here at home. As of right now, they're 297 in RPI. Lots going to change between now and then. We're talking almost 20 days between now and then. The last 4 to the last 5. The last one came against Charlotte. I don't see that changing anytime soon. But hopefully we don't have a hangover after playing our hearts out against Wichita State and trying to steal a win somewhere. I think, truthfully, between these 5 games, if we can go 4-1, I'll be very happy. I'll be a little concerned if we're 3-2, but who knows? Maybe we go 5-0. This is college basketball; anything can happen. But I think we need to aim to go at least 4-1 at the minimum to maintain that level of the top, third of the conference and keep in the good graces of the selection committee.
Definitely. In my opinion, the one I'm worried the most about right now is probably Tulane.
Yeah, I think it's got to be Tulane easily.
That's the scary one. I think we can pull it away with Tulsa at home. I think ECU is a gimme. I think Tulane is tough. Wichita State is probable loss.
Right.
But you're right. I think if we can go 1-4, that would be excellent, and keep cruising on the train.
4-1.
4-1.
No, we do not need to go 1-4. For the love of God, that would be awful.
That would be horrendous. But if we can keep that train going, I think it'll really, really help.
For sure.
It'll be interesting to see how Coach Sampson goes in and tries to get the guys who are in the slump out of that slump.
Right.
He does a good job of it, but I don't know. That's really all we can really talk about. I believe we've already talked about all the guys who we picked up for basketball. Yes. I know there's been buzz on that recently, but I think that's about it, man. Hopefully to see you guys out. I remember what I was going to say. We've really got hoed. Not only are we away for all the night games, all of our conference games that are at home are at bunk-ass weird times. You've got Tulsa is the lucky one that we've gotten on a school night, and then you've got Wichita State at 11 a.m. You've got USF at 2 p.m.
Well, you got to remember, too, we're scheduling 4 different teams instead of 2 teams. So I think part of that plays into why we're getting a whack-ass schedule this year. I think it'll be much different next year. And truthfully, that's fine. I'm okay with it for 1 year. I think we'll see a much more improved team, for lack of better words, and schedule for next year once we get back into the Fertitta Center.
Yeah, and at least it doesn't say U of H on the empty-ass stadium floor.
That is true.
So, anything else you want to...
Yeah, I was going to ask any final thoughts from you?
Yeah, final thoughts. I think Rob Gray, wake up, please. I'll give you a hug. I promise not. We won't sick the committee to cut off your man bun if you wake up.
Exactly.
That would be awesome. Overall, early on in the episode, stoked about Kendal Briles. I know that there's a lot of folks that are, have mixed emotions about the situation, but, if things continue to go the way they go, and that, people, nothing comes out that's directly tied to him. From what I know, my inside sources, that's not going to happen.
Right.
But things, or maybe they just don't know. So I'd like to see a lot of Coug fans turn the leaf. I think that the vocal majority, who's super sensitive about the issue, will turn the tide. And we're going to have a lot of exciting things coming on for UH athletics. On the flip side, too, I mean, we're not really talking about it too much on our podcast, but women's basketball is killing it. Yeah. Coach Huey has done an amazing job with that program. I think he's going to be, top of the list for American Conference Coach of the Year in women's basketball. And I think the Jasmine Harris got a nomination for Women's Basketball Player of the Week by ESPN.
Yeah,
so
she did.
Impressive, just as a sophomore. And we got plenty of time with them, and as we can recruit, they'll continue to be good. There's no reason why women's basketball shouldn't have been phenomenal in Houston, guys. So good on them, and I think they can definitely be a tournament team. Definitely not going to be doing well against UConn, but it is what it is. So, anything else you can think about?
No, I've said all my thoughts on the first part of the episode. Shooty hoops is not my thing, but I am looking forward to baseball coming up the next 6 weeks. So we'll be coming at you guys with our baseball standalone preview. Hopefully have a guest on, give a little bit more insight, because I am not the end-all be-all. I'm just a rabid fan and a Dugout Club member. That's it.
3-point stance.
Bingo. But outside of that, I really don't have anything. I won't be able to make too many more basketball games this year, sad to say, but I am looking forward to getting back into the Pachita Center and rooting for the guys while they are trying to make well this year and get into the tournament. But, hats off to Major on making us hire, and I hope it works out well for us. Hats off to Coach Huey for taking the ladies to new heights, much better than the last 2 years. And then lastly, Coach Sampson, don't break tradition. If you get angry, take your tie off. It really bothered me that his tie was still on against Wichita State. So just do you.
I agree.
Do you, Coach Sampson, do you.
I agree. So with all that, I think that's about it. If you guys want to do us a huge, huge favor, if you're watching this on YouTube, please press the subscribe button. And if you're listening on iTunes, go ahead and click on the leave a review and press 5 stars to show us how much you love us. And maybe if you write a question in the review, we'll answer the question on the podcast. So also congratulations to our buddy who won the bulk pick'em. Good on you. And we may have a guest on the podcast sometime soon. So that may be an encouragement to sign up for things in the future.
Agreed.
So with that being said, I think that's about it. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Go Cougs.
Go Cougs. Row, row, row.
Peace.